Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unscaled Travel Show. So glad that you're here. I'm Jeremy Long, here with my co-host, Amy.
Hi.
We're coming to you from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. We got a really fun show for you today, really themed around why you should choose Paris as your next source of inspiration. Paris, people have a very strong feeling when it comes to Paris. Often like how they view Vegas. Mm-hmm. People either really love Paris or they really don't like it.
Which category do you fall in?
I know there's division here. And I know this is a very interesting topic for us to talk about whenever there is this kind of divide between us, because I fall into the camp of I really like Paris.
It's not that I hate it. I want to say that. I don't hate Paris.
Yeah.
I think it's so built up from movies and TV and just everybody talking about how wonderful Paris is that when we went, I won't say it was a letdown. It just didn't quite live up to the hype. And I think that's more, I had some just crazy, unrealistic expectations of what was going to happen and how it was going to be. And it didn't quite meet those. But I think that was more me than the city.
Well, here's the thing. It's not just you, though. They actually talk about this Paris syndrome that, speaking of just that, where people, you know, they often think about Paris, they fantasize about Paris, going there, and then it not living up to those expectations. Right. And I was thinking about that. We actually, not a part of this show, but we were just talking about it one day. And my theory is that Paris is one of the first places, if you're not from France, if you're not from Paris, outside world, Paris oftentimes is one of the first places that you are introduced to on a larger scale. Mm-hmm. You think about how many books and movies and, you know, just different things that impact our lives growing up and everything else that just, they originate around Paris. They show Paris. The Eiffel Tower is probably one of the first.
Decor with Paris and the Eiffel Tower, clothing that uses this image. So yes, I mean, you see it everywhere.
Yeah, from the time you're very young until whatever your first trip is there. And the later I think it is, the more almost a letdown it can be. And it sounds crazy to say that Paris is a letdown, because have you ever been to Port Arthur, Texas?
Yes, I have.
Yes, that's a letdown. I love Trillville, but it ain't Paris, right? And, you know, so you have this image built up in your head. Oh, it's a city of romance and love. It's the city of light. And then you get there and you're just kind of like, okay, I'm waiting for where's the excitement? Where's the moment of inspiration? Where's the moment it all comes together? And I'm Emily in Paris and I got my own Netflix special, you know? And it doesn't happen for a lot of people, I think, because it's built up to, you know, it's like a movie you're waiting to, you know, for it to come out, and it's years and years and years. And then you're just like, oh, it finally hits. You're like, nothing. This wasn't anything like I hoped it would be.
Right. I mean, I enjoyed our trip. Yes. I really did. There were things about it that I still think about, and it's been a while since we went, but I remember landing. It was an overnight flight for us. We landed in the morning, went straight to our hotel, dropped our stuff off, and you practically dragged me down the street to see the Eiffel Tower. I mean, our hotel wasn't far from it. It was just a few blocks away, and you're practically running down the street holding my hand, and I'm exhausted. I'm hungry. It's kind of raining, and it's cold, and you were so excited, and we come around this corner, and there's the Eiffel Tower. And you were just like a kid at Christmas. And I remember looking over and seeing a food truck that sold crepes. And I was more interested in the crepes than in seeing the Eiffel Tower.
Still one of the best. I'm going on and on about Paris. And I'm like, look at the tower. And I'm taking pictures and I'm doing all that. And you're just like, just destroying this Nutella crepe. You don't care at all. You're just like, oh my. You're so hangry. It's funny to me. It's one of my favorite memories of us traveling. But it does. Paris brings out these strong feelings in people. So in a way, whether you like it or you don't like it, it is very inspirational. And it has been inspirational for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yes. And I would say it was very inspirational to us. We had done some traveling before that, but that was our first time in Europe.
Yep.
And that trip is kind of what fostered our love of traveling. We, for the very first time, just decided, let's just hop on a train and go somewhere. And we were kind of planners up to that point, and during that trip, we decided to be a little bit more spontaneous, and it ended up being a really great trip. I don't want people to think that I'm saying don't go to Paris. I think you just sometimes build it up so much in your mind that you get there and you see the Eiffel Tower, and it's a little bit like, okay, now what?
Exactly. But why? Okay. I mean, why is it an inspiration? Why have people looked at Paris over, for hundreds of years? And a lot of them, especially if you are more creative sided, why do they come away with inspiration? There's a lot of theories to this. Number one, it's old. Mm-hmm. Paris is an ancient city. It's over 2,000 years old. It's kind of like Rome in a sense that the way we always describe Rome, throw a rock and you hit something historic where some form of history, something famous happened here, or someone lived here, something like that. So it's very old, which a lot of people look at and can go, this is inspirational. This is like looking back with the ancestors or just, the people that came before us, and you find inspiration there.
Do you feel, though, comparing Rome to Paris, that Paris seems a little more modernized?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that way too. I felt like Rome kind of has embraced its history a little bit more, and Paris felt like, we still have some of the old stuff, but we've kind of knocked a lot of stuff down and have new stuff on top of it.
Paris has gone through a lot. All right, it's got some stuff going on. It's very old. People often say it's very romantic, which is more of a thing that's been brought up fairly recently. Within the last couple hundred years, maybe, Paris being the city of love. Art and music have always found its home in Paris. It's always been this kind of center for food and wine. And number one, I think French people, especially Parisians, are very passionate. I'm not going to call them angry little people, but they're very passionate about their beliefs, whatever those beliefs are. I mean, they're always demonstrating. They're always, we can, with America and France, you kind of have this back and forth of revolutions and different things in our histories, but a lot of that same passion. I mean, Benjamin Franklin spent so much time in France and in Paris, and there, a lot of our founding fathers spent a lot of time there. Of course, an old world kind of connection, but I think, at least in part, Americans owe a little bit of our passion and our inspiration, where we find inspiration, to Paris and to France in general, just because we're so connected.
Really? I never thought about it that way. I mean, you hear Paris is for lovers, and Paris is so romantic, and Paris is the city of light. Oh, that's something I don't. Why is it called the city of light? I have no idea. Why is it
called the city of light? Real quick, two things. One, it is the birthplace of the Age of Enlightenment, the philosophical movement centered on, the value of knowledge learned by the way of rationalism, where they batted around political ideas, natural law, liberty, separation of church and state, those kind of things that are kind of American based, when we base a lot of our stuff on America. And also they have a lot of lights.
Really? That's
the Sun King. King Louis XIV ordered 3,000 street lights to be erected around the city because at the time the city was dark and there was a lot of crime. At one time, Paris was the murder capital of Europe. How's that for inspiration? So, Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be back in just a moment.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long here with my co-host, Amy Long.
Hi.
We're coming to you from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're talking about using Paris as inspiration. I think it's an art that's been lost. Because if you look at the like, you would stick specifically with America. If you look at the great American writers, a lot of them, especially post-war France, went over the lost generation, kind of went over there, and they all knew each other. That's what's crazy, because you think of these people being separated in time or whatever, like Hemingway and Pablo Picasso and people like that, but they all hung out together and knew each other, and which is
they were bros.
Yeah, they were bros. They totally broed down, man. Even people like Gertrude Stein and people like that, they all were like bros. James Joyce, they all. Really? They were frat bros, basically.
I did not know that. That is interesting.
Well, and that talks about, that kind of leads us into inspiring neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And I think Paris is definitely one of those cities that you need to be ground level. Mm-hmm. Now, yes, it's faster to move around with the subway and if you're just trying to get to a place, because our second morning there in Paris, we did take after I pulled you away from your crepe, in front of the Eiffel Tower, we did take the metro to the Louvre.
We did, yes.
Because it would have been a pretty far walk.
Well, and it did rain quite a bit while we were in Paris.
Which is part of the beauty of off-peak travel.
Yes, we went end of winter, right at the beginning of spring, and it rained pretty much the whole time we were there. It was still cold. And I was a bit miserable. So that may also have affected my opinion on how wonderful Paris is.
I didn't know who you disliked more, Paris or me. Like, I controlled the weather.
Well, that was our first run-in with we should always carry an umbrella, and we did not have one.
One of the themes of the show. And there you go. That's the origin story of always bring your umbrella, because we started a string of trips.
We did. And again, I was cold. I was tired. It was raining. And you ended up pulling me into a museum. And we walked around a museum until it stopped raining. But we did then find our way over to the metro to go to the Louvre.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of walking through, it is a city that has that bit of history, that the art and the music scene, there's always something going on. When the weather actually cleared, we found so many people just out and about, lots of people taking pictures, even into the neighborhoods where it was less touristy, people painting on the sidewalk, and they weren't selling paintings.
Right.
They were just painting. Like, I remember distinctly an older gentleman, he was just standing on a corner. He didn't have anything else with him except for paints and an easel. There you go.
Yes.
And then a canvas, and he was just painting the scene, whatever, and that was just what he was doing that day, which is so unheard of.
I think Parisians, and maybe all French people, but Parisians specifically, just have this more laid back and like go with the flow, enjoy life kind of attitude. We especially don't have that here in the United States. We are running to the finish line every single day. Yeah. But over there, I was surprised. We were walking around. It was 10:30, 11, and people were out in their business attire. And I remember asking you, don't these people need to go to work? And they're all still sitting there drinking their coffee. And they were all just kind of enjoying their mornings. Yeah. And it's so different than how things are here in the U.S.
There are, it's one of these cities where almost every neighborhood has something special about it. And there are ones like Canal Saint Martin, which is, kind of trendy now, like Le Marais, which is, honestly, it's French for the marsh. Now it's trendy. It's got upscale boutiques and cafes and galleries and all that. It's right across the river by Notre Dame. So they have all of these kind of neighborhoods. But you and I actually stayed in one right outside, almost considered a suburb, but St. Cloud.
Oh, right. It was so lovely.
Yeah, we stayed at a hotel right next to the Hippodrome. Mm-hmm. And we just spent one morning, I think our very last morning.
Yes.
Walking around the neighborhood. And it was so great.
Right. I felt like we were finally seeing the real Paris. Like, this is how people live here. And we walked into a bakery where nobody spoke English. And my very little French skills managed to get us a couple of croissants and some coffee.
French skills. You pointed.
I know like 20 words in French. Croissant is one of them.
The rest of them were curse words.
But I did manage to get us breakfast. But the guy was very nice. But, we walked around and we saw an actual like French little community, which felt different than being in the middle of the city where it's
100%
neighborhoods.
different.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were little things like they had turned a little phone booth into like a take one, leave one library, which isn't uncommon, but it was fun to see just people going about their mornings, because it might have been like a Tuesday or a Wednesday whenever we were leaving, but they were just going about their day and,
seeing how people really live over there.
Absolutely. Which can be a big source of inspiration because you start thinking, when you begin traveling, you start going, okay, this place, if you go to Paris, it's got to be so much different. People live different. They act different. And you start realizing that people have their normal daily routines no matter what city you go to. And so then you start looking past the surface level of stuff, finding the inspiration, finding the art in little places. I don't know if you remember, we were passing by in that same neighborhood and there was like a little wall and it looked like school children had painted on it. Like maybe it was a little, because there was a nearby school, like maybe it was just like a little project they did one year with a class of students at this school. And I took a little picture of it and it was just fun to see, like, these people they might be adults by now, who knows, but just having them live their lives and everything. And you come back with a different sense of, understanding of the neighborhood and the people.
Yeah. Cause I think every time you see Paris depicted on a screen, it's always around the Eiffel Tower or the Louvre or, Moulin Rouge or Notre Dame. It's never like where people are actually living. I mean, some people live near these things, but the vast majority of people don't. So I think it was nice for us to see kind of when people talk about, coming to Vegas, where do you live? I'm like, we live in a normal neighborhood. And I think that was the same thing that we got over there, is we got to see how most people actually live. But yet in the distance is the Eiffel Tower. Yeah.
The only difference is they have the real Eiffel Tower. And here in Vegas, we have a version. we got a version. And still, one of my best pieces of advice to people is like, if you do Uber or taxi or even to people in the restaurants, ask them what their favorite places are. Ask them what their favorite neighborhoods are, where they, when they're going out for a night on the town with their friends or whatever, what are they looking for?
Where do they go?
Right. And you're going to find so many great places. And I hate the word hidden gems, I do with a passion, but you'll find those hidden gems right there. So stay with us. It's the Unscaled Travel Show. We're going to have more right after this.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long here with my co-explorer, Amy.
Hello.
We are coming to you from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. We're talking about Parisian inspiration. Whatever's ailing you, I tell you right now, buy the ticket, take the ride, go to Paris. You'll come back inspired. And you'll come back with a new lease on life, right? Yeah, it is. I want to circle back. We talked a little bit about some inspirational neighborhoods, and probably one of the more famous ones. And yes, it can get a little touristy here and there, but the Latin Quarter. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Latin Quarter, because so much, if you are a writer or you go to Starbucks and pretend to be, if you visit Paris, you need to at least walk the streets at the Latin Quarter. Why? Because this is where so many writers and journalists and, sculptors and even painters of that time, and again, we're talking like post-war Paris here, kind of all met up. And it's crazy that they intersected. Like all these famous people intersected. We mentioned Ernest Hemingway, who has a famous line in one of his books. Says hunger was good discipline. He was broke, but he was happy, and it caused him to
write.
Yeah. He would often go up to the roofs of some of these buildings and look out over the Parisian landscape, and where he formulated thoughts for his books and his short stories. And he was a journalist for a while for the things that he wrote about. Crossing paths with Irish novelist James Joyce, Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake, and so many other. He said about the city, no other city is quite like it, meaning Paris. I wake early, often at 5 o'clock, and start writing at once.
I think my favorite quote about Paris is from Gertrude Stein, and it's also mentioned in a great movie that talks about Paris, Sabrina. But the quote is, "America is my country, and Paris is my hometown."
Yeah. They often say that people have two countries, wherever they were born, and France. And Paris is right there. And of course, people like Victor Hugo, of course, the great French novelist, Hunchback of Notre Dame, 1831, tragic story, heavy stuff. It's not like the Disney cartoon, which was my only introduction to that for so many years. I don't want to tell you how old I was before I even tackled that book, but I was like, I'm waiting for the singing and dancing,
and it never came.
Where's the little singing gargoyle? And it's not in that one. Victor Hugo did not play around with those themes, but really at its heart, it's he was a champion of historical preservation, and was kind of upset that a lot of things, older things that he considered important to Paris and its culture and its history, were being replaced and modernized. And so he kind of wrote a lot about themes of that, in that vein anyway. And people like Pablo Picasso and Joan Miro and people like that all kind of cross paths. So you need to go to the Latin Quarter and hang out. And there's a lot of places that if you really dive into it, I'm not going to do it right here, but if you dive into it, you can visit a lot of the same places that these great minds and writers and whatever hung out, threw around ideas, got arguments over, huge argument that spanned decades between Hemingway and Gertrude Stein that went on forever. And there's places like Shakespeare and Company that he famously hung out on, but it's not the original one that he actually hung out on. That one closed in 1940, but the one that opened in 1951, the Shakespeare and Company there, you can still walk around and go there, and they have the ties. But you can't go to the Ritz Paris, the famous hotel that has a bar called the Bar Hemingway, where a lot of these folks hung out. And this is actually the hotel that Hemingway and his first wife, Hadley, they celebrated. They went to their honeymoon as soon as they got to Paris, and did their thing there. And it's been around since the late 1800s. So definitely go to do that. But there are so many other inspiring landmarks. You talked about the Eiffel Tower. Now, yes, it might be kitschy now. It might be something that people are so tired of. I just see the Eiffel Tower and everything. But it's inspired so much art.
Right.
Movies, television, books, paintings, everything, sculptures.
Right. I mean, as we were saying, we've seen it in fashion. We've seen it. Our daughter, when she was a baby, her bedding was Parisian themed. It was pink and black with little Eiffel Towers on it. I mean, it's one of those things I hate to use the word iconic, but it is iconic, and it's synonymous with Paris.
Yeah. Which is crazy for a tower that was only meant to be temporary. It was for the 1889 World's Fair. They were going to tear it down. And actually, it was Parisians who were like, no, we like this thing. And it's surprising how big that the tower is. I was shocked. When I was grabbing you and dragging you down the street running and you were yelling for crepe, I was like, when we got there, I was like, oh, I never realized how big the Eiffel Tower actually was.
I didn't realize either it was that big. And unfortunately, we didn't get to go up into it, onto the observation platforms. But just walking around underneath that part, once we got there, it did start to feel a little bit more like, okay, this is something to see. But just kind of seeing it off in the distance, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, we have one of those. It's not as big, but...
We got one of those. That is when your mama tells you got McDonald's at home, huh?
I think living in Vegas sometimes has jaded us to other landmarks.
The other one that we have here that they have there, the Arc de Triomphe.
We have one?
We have one. It's in front of the Paris. Yeah,
right.
It's a small version, yes.
Right, yes.
The real one opened in 1806. It was commissioned by Napoleon, of course, to celebrate the military achievements of the French armies at the time.
When we were looking at it, though, because it's in the middle of the circle, like the street that's a circle, and we saw all these people on top of it, and we were like, how are they getting up there and not getting hit by traffic? Because people drive crazy over there. And I don't recall seeing any striping on the lanes. Like, people were just crossing traffic. And we're like, how are people getting over there not getting hit? And we kind of walked a bit around the outer circle and came across where you go down underground and you come out inside the traffic circle, and then you can climb up onto the top of the Arc de Triomphe.
It's
but
surprising.
had we not walked, we wouldn't have known that.
It's surprising how many people don't know that. I mean, we didn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would never make fun of anyone because I was looking across like, do I start running?
I know.
Like,
at one point you were like, okay, I guess we just have to run. And I was like, there's no way we'll make it across this traffic and not get hit.
Yeah, because have you ever seen me run? It's not fun to watch me run. But yeah, I mean, and you can go up and you get beautiful views, again, of the city and everything. And this was a short time. Our visit was a short time after, not too long after the tragic fire at Notre Dame. So while we saw Notre Dame from a distance, it was still under construction. In fact, as of right now, it's still not open.
Oh, I thought it had just recently.
It opens at the end of 2024.
Oh, okay.
So it's not even open as of right now. So all of that we kind of missed out on. But tons of people go there, and they go there because it is so beautiful, because of the history and everything that's associated with these kinds of places. And we even even though it's technically outside of Paris, we made time to go visit Versailles. Right.
I would say that was, we weren't really sure what the deal was with Versailles. Like, we knew it was this large home, but we didn't quite know what we were going to expect. Again, it rained that day, so it was very nice to be inside, but we didn't get to explore the gardens, which I think is a whole nother part of it. But just walking through this gorgeous castle, seeing the just how they built everything back then, like, I was trying to wrap my head around just living in such luxury. Can't do it.
Such opulence, such luxury. That's all we do here at Unscaled. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. We're so glad you joined us. I'm Jeremy Long, and here with my co-explorer, Amy.
Hi.
We're talking about the beautiful inspiration you can get by simply traveling to Paris, enjoying the architecture, enjoying the history, mainly the wine, and just letting that be the inspiration for the next creative endeavor, or to kind of just what we did. It kind of kicked off our love for travel.
Right. I think we had done some traveling before that, but that was really the first time we saw another country in a new light, I guess. And we went there and we did not have a plan. We did not have a definitive, we are doing this on this day and this on this day, and kind of just had a couple of landmarks we wanted to go see and decided in between that we were going to wander. And we did wander quite a bit around the city. We saw a lot of things. We ate a lot of places, had some really good pastries, had coffee in some great little coffee shops, which they don't call it coffee. Cafe. Don't ask for a latte or just get milk.
You learn things. You learn things, which is the complete opposite of like, I don't know if you remember our very first trip together of going to New Orleans.
Yes.
And how that almost killed our love for
it almost
travel.
Killed me. But.
It almost killed you and our even wanting to leave our home. I do enjoy bits of New Orleans. I will say that just in case anyone's listening. But it did almost kill you a couple different ways. And I saw a bunch of naked people. We'll get into that at a different show. But we were, kind of discussing these iconic landmarks and why they are iconic and the inspiration. And we mentioned briefly Versailles. Mm-hmm. And it was when you mentioned we didn't really have a plan. I know on a certain day we were like, okay, we're leaving this hotel that's more toward the city center. That's a couple of blocks away from the Eiffel Tower. And we're going more outside of the city to the St. Cloud neighborhood and everything. And it was maybe a 5-minute Uber ride, which I was surprised that we got Uber all the way out there, but we had an Uber ride from our hotel to Versailles.
Yeah. And that's something that we have started doing more often, is not staying in one hotel the whole time, kind of moving and from one hotel to another, just so we can explore new parts of the city and not always have to be at the same home base. I know some people like that and they just travel in and out from that same hotel. But I like that we kind of pick 2 or 3 places in the city and like, we're going to spend 2 days here and then we're going to go over here and spend a few days here. So we get kind of different experiences.
Yeah. I think we've done both. We've done where we've moved around way too much. Mm-hmm. And we felt like we were always like just moving hotels.
Always
we were
packing bags.
Yeah, packing bags. And then we've done it not enough. And now I think finally in our travels, we've kind of hit this happy medium of, depending on how long we're going to stay in a location, like how often do we move? But you want to stay long enough I'm not for just like touching down at a place, eating at a restaurant, going, okay, I've seen the city.
Right.
Like, no, I want to go and experience, especially if it's a city like Paris or Rome or, these kind of, I don't know, ancient cities that you could live a lifetime there and probably not see everything.
Right. I agree completely.
So I think just taking an afternoon to see a place isn't, yes, if that's all the time you have, do. I mean, in fact, our trip to Paris inspired a spontaneous trip on one of those days to go to Brussels. We hopped a train and went to Belgium.
Right. And that was one of my favorite parts of the trip, just because it was spontaneous and it did feel like Paris inspired us to see more. Yeah. So, I mean, kind of what we're talking about. But we were there and it's like, what else can we see? What else can we go do? And we did just buy some tickets and get on a train at midnight and go to another country. We spent about 10 hours exploring Brussels and came back to Paris to finish out our trip. But yeah, it really was a great trip. I mean, I know you think I don't like Paris. I want to go back.
Only because you often say you don't like Paris.
I have never said I don't like Paris. I have said I don't love it as much as you. But I do want to go back and maybe experience it with fresh eyes and not quite as tired as I was. Yeah. I'll try to sleep more on the plane this time. I think part of it, too, was I was so excited to go that I didn't sleep. And I had so much just, energy and I was ready to get there and see everything. Yeah. And then kind of a crash once we landed.
Well, we were dealing with jet lag too in our first international trip as far as going to Europe. And so we did a lot of things poorly that we don't do anymore. And that's planning, and even people don't realize how much exercise you need, and I think that's an underrated thing as far as when you're looking at travel. If you haven't traveled a whole lot, how much exercise and your overall health does play a part, and how much you end up liking a place, because there are going to be places such as like Switzerland and different places like that are a lot of walking up hills and things. And while they have gotten better, a lot of places have gotten better about meeting people where they are as far as ability wise. Not every place is like that. And it can go a long way with how you end up really seeing a city and enjoying a city.
And we like to walk. We like, as you said, to be on the ground and see things for ourselves. So I don't want to just see it through a passing window. I don't want to just see it through a subway. Yeah. I want to walk the streets myself. And we end up walking miles and miles and miles every single day when we're on these trips. And it does become exhausting. So I agree with you that our first trip was a big learning experience for us. So I want to go back now that we have these best practices and put them into play for us and see if I enjoy Paris more. Because I have friends who go to Paris once a year and they love it. They go and they just hang out. They eat croissants and drink coffee and wander around the Louvre every year. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't get it, but I want to. I want to so bad.
Well, and speaking of, I mean, needing to have your cardio up kind of plays right into a place that you just mentioned, the Louvre, where you can also find incredible inspiration from works of art that were inspired, at least in part, a lot of them in Paris. But the Louvre is huge.
It is ginormous.
It is a lot of walking, and we spent... I don't know how many hours, and we still didn't.
Most of the day there.
We still didn't see everything.
Right.
It is so big. And we have been to the Louvre. We've been to the Met. We haven't been to the Smithsonian yet. But out of the two, like, which one do you lean toward? Because we had this discussion when I was walking through the Met with you.
Right. I mean, to me, it depends on how you look at it. I think the Louvre wins because of what the structure was, and it just feels grander. And just the entrance into it, you walk into this kind of weird pyramid and then you go underground to get into the Louvre. Like, it's just a different experience. The Met is very cool, but it feels very much like a museum, whereas the Louvre feels like you're in a castle looking at these works of art. So it's just two different experiences. But I would say if you had to choose one, it would be the Louvre.
The Louvre was originally built in 1190 by King Philippe Auguste as a fortress to defend from those darn Englishers who kept trying to invade around there. And over time, just flash forward and everything, 1545, King Francis I, he basically tore down the old castle and rebuilt it as a Renaissance palace. Flash forward again, in art and everything else has been put in there in 1793. It kind of opened to the way it is now. It opened as a public art museum. So it's been around for a very long time and has served as, you know, the house for all of this art for, you know, now hundreds of years or whatever. But I mean, in there, you're going to have the most famous ones, the Mona Lisa, the Venus de Milo, the Winged Victory of
you don't know how to say it.
Samuel Thrace, man. Come on. I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. The Seated Scribe and like the Code of Hammurabi and you know, all of these things are in there and just walking around. And a lot of times I apologize because I know a lot of your time was focused on trying to find me because I had wandered off down different places and you were like, where do you keep just disappearing to? And you find me over just staring at some obscure thing, you know?
Well, I think with the Louvre, there's some things you should know. Again, it's too big to see it all in one day. So you kind of have to plan what you want to see and kind of map out how to get there. You can do guided tours. We didn't do it, but I know people who have, and they said it was very helpful to have that other viewpoint. Yeah. But go early. If you want to see the Mona Lisa, make that your first thing because there is a line.
You're going to run like I did.
Go there first, get it out of the way, and then go see everything else.
We hope this has inspired you. We hope that you buy the ticket, go to Paris, go see everything you can, come back home, write the great American novel, right? Or wherever you're from, write that one. We'll see you next time.